Well, what an exciting final day at the Hyundai World Archery Championships in Berlin. This is the Archery Plus show live, and I'm delighted that we are once again joined by former Dutch national team coach Emil Kusters, who's here to talk us through all of the day's action. Well, on this final day of competition, we turned our attention to the individual recurve finals, where 6 more Olympic places were at stake. Well, that should have given you some small flavour as to what happened today on the final day of action. But big news to begin with, and that is Korea's women are leaving Berlin without any Olympic places. Now, Emil, you predicted a Korea 1-2-3 yesterday, a clean sweep of the medals. They leave empty-handed. What on earth happened?
A lot has happened. I don't know if you have time to go over all the matches in this show, because I think they all have their own story to it. But it's clearly that the general underperformance of the Korean women this tournament is something we cannot disregard. Yeah.
Let's just put that into perspective, shall we? It's the first time since 1996, since qualification began, that they haven't qualified.
Well, they haven't qualified yet. Obviously, they have a lot of chances to still qualify with the team. They have the Asian Championships coming up at the end of the year, where they can qualify as a team. There will be another qualification tournament next year, and they still have their #1 ranking in the world ranking list. That eventually, if they don't seem to qualify in the procedure, still gives them 3 tickets to the Olympics. So they are definitely not out yet, and they're still in a good spot. But they surely would have expected to leave Berlin with a couple of quota places. Yes.
And of course, their recurve women's team, they were knocked out in the early rounds as well. Is there a wider problem, do you think, with the Korean team?
I don't know. I think a couple of them still performed well today, like An San. She really shot an okay match. She shot perfect groups. She just didn't hit the middle. Everything was on the left, so she was up to par. And Lim, she had a bad opponent that shot the lights out. I think only Kang was the one that underperformed. She was a little bit all over the place. But in general, they didn't seem very enthusiastic or very happy to be on the field. They looked a little flustered, like they didn't understand what happened to them or to their shots. So I don't know if they really have a problem. It's too early to say. But let's just wait how the World Cup in Paris will go, how the Asian Games will go, and the Asian Championships. They still have 3 big tournaments coming up this year. So if all those 3 tournaments go bad, then they definitely have a problem. Yes.
Have they left themselves with too much to do there? Though? Are they now under real pressure?
Yeah, they have a grueling schedule. I think they obviously the Asian Games are very big for the Korean women, so that's one of the tournaments where they really want to peak. But frankly, at this moment, it's not the most important tournament of the year anymore. And at the Asian Games, they can't qualify a team. The Asian Championships are only like a couple weeks, a couple months later, and that really is a big tournament. And if you look at the teams that qualified now, China still doesn't have quota places. Chinese Taipei, Japan, India. So you have five countries fighting for that one spot on top of the Asian Championships. So it will be very electrifying to follow that championships as well.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing. Yeah. But going back to Berlin, you said that the Korean women didn't look too happy out there in the field today. Is that due to conditions, or what do you put that down to?
I don't know. The conditions today were perfect. If you look at the scores that were shot, they were okay. Apart from a little bit, a heavy rain for the men, but the women had perfect conditions, and some of them, they really shot great scores. But they looked confused. They looked out of sync with everything we know about them. Yeah.
And you said they can still get to Paris, but they've got a really grueling schedule ahead of them. How do they pick themselves up again after this and get themselves mentally prepared for those really tough tournaments.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they will see Paris as a little bit of a warm-up. They will probably stay in Europe because flying back and forth is too heavy on the schedule. It's only in 10 days already. And probably because of the Asian Games, none of them will actually travel to the World Cup final if they place. Lim already has a spot there, but I assume she's not going because it can't be combined with the Asian Games. So Paris will be really a reset for them, a tournament with not too much pressure, just to get but eventually a lot of world ranking points at stake there. So if they win, they still cement that place on top of the world ranking list, which can at the end be very important. Yeah.
So you said there's one spot left for the Olympic Games, is that right?
No. There's one spot at the Asian Championships, but there's still 4 more team spots available at the quota tournament. But that's all the way in June or July, so that's only like a couple months before the Olympic Games, and that's very hard to prepare for that and to be on your top game at the Olympics. Yeah.
Based on what you've seen from them this week, how do you predict they're going to do?
I think it all depends on if they have like a normal tournament considering the weather. They still ranked great here in Berlin. They still ranked on top of the schedule. They just had an awful day being beaten by Indonesia with the team. They still had all 3 of them in the last 8, so it's still good. But yeah, leaving without a medal will be. I think it will be big news in Korea as well in all the news outlets, because archery is a well-funded sport there, so they will have some press, and maybe it's even good that they don't need to go back to Korea just yet, and they can stay in Europe for a couple more weeks, so that it can settle down a little bit. But will definitely be talk of the town in Korea. Yeah.
We'll have some questions to answer, I'm sure. Well, one archer who is certainly on form and who has booked her place in the Paris Olympics was Marie Harakova. She started her journey, didn't she, with an incredible victory against the undefeated Korean Lim Si-yeon in the quarterfinals. That secured her place for the Czech Republic in the Olympics next year. Her amazing shooting continued, didn't it, in the semi-final when she swept aside the Japanese archer Satsuki Noda, and that led her to the final. Talk us through that final match.
Yeah, we can always compare this with everything we said about Swami. It was incredible how she shot. She only had to shoot 27 arrows today because she didn't lose a single set point. Everything was 6-0, 6-0, 6-0, and she shot an incredible average. She shot a 29-point average. If you take that in a 72 arrow qualification round, I know it's a long stretch, but that's 4 points above the current world record. She would have shot a 696, so that's incredible. She shot 27 arrows, and she outscored her direct opponents by 14 points. That's half a point every arrow.
It's an incredible performance from someone who was such an underdog, but she didn't let that bother her, did she? She showed such confidence, and we can just see there how much that means to her, and it's fantastic to see those celebrations.
Yeah, she was so well composed. If you see the excitement and the joy and the emotions that came out after her last shot, it's very incredible to see how she was able to compose that during her shots.
Yeah, great attitude she showed there, especially when facing someone like Lim Si-yeon. How do you prepare yourself to face an archer like that and win?
She was totally unbothered by it. I think she didn't show any nerves. She just came out there, shot her shots. She has an excellent form. Like it's textbook how she is shooting, and she was able to do that shot after shot after shot, and they all 27 landed in the yellow. Yeah.
Well, let's see what she had to say then after that incredible victory.
You are champion of the world. Yeah, sounds fantastic. I think everything will come later, because now I'm like, I don't know what happened. I just wanted to shoot good arrows, and I already, when I knew that I will shoot the quarterfinal, I wanted to shoot nice arrows, because like it's useless to shoot some bad one. You finished off with a perfect 10-10-10. Tell me about that. Have to say that with Alejandra, we told each other when we knew that we were in the top 8 that we want to shoot against each other in the gold final, and it happened. So we're both so much happy. And yeah, like the last arrow, I knew that just need to hit the gold ring, and it was it. So yeah.
A world title for the Czech Republic. Did you ever think that could happen?
I wanted that, so I was praying for it such a long time.
Well, your prayers came true. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, in the men's recurve final, it was the Olympic champion Mete Gazos who took the world title. Emil, that was a good final, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very nice final. I think especially the semi-final was actually what we maybe all hoped to be the final against the world number 1 Dalmeida, but Mete did very well. I think he didn't show his best form, but he, at the moments where he needed to score well, he just did what was asked. He shot a couple tens, and then he clinched every match. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really consistent, wasn't he? He's now just the 3rd man to hold the Olympic and world titles simultaneously, and his chances of retaining his Olympic title must be good based on that performance.
Yeah, we can all see that Mete is really he's a contender. He likes to be on the stage. He likes the match format. It brings out the best of him. I think for Tokyo he was one of the outsiders. He maybe wasn't the biggest contender, but for Paris he most definitely will be, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to see his win there. Look how much it means to him. It's lovely scenes at the end of that. Let's talk a little bit about Eric Peters, who we watched a little earlier on, and his coach, the Canadian coach of Eric Peters. He was quite animated, shall we say.
He was quite out there, yeah. He's a pretty extrovert coach looking for like a connection with the crowd. He was really whipping up the crowd. I think he even tried to communicate with the commentators in the commentary box. So he really put a name out there for himself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we can see Gazos there celebrating, the crowd celebrating too, but it's a little unusual, isn't it, to see a coach as animated as that?
Well, we know there are more coaches that are very out there and very energetic and really try to put that energy in their athletes. But these scenes I have not seen before of a coach, not at the final stage. No.
And of course, you yourself, you were a coach of the Dutch national team. You know, how did you behave when your teams were your athletes were at kind of critical moments?
Yeah, you try to give them confidence, and sometimes you need to put that extra energy in them because they maybe are a little bit too much in their own world without being like in the moment. So sometimes an athlete that's what an athlete needs. It was not my personal style of coaching to really like we saw from the coach from Eric Peters, but they obviously made a game plan like this, and it paid off. He had a wonderful second place. Yeah.
Do you think it's good for the sport to have exuberance and characters like that?
I think it's definitely good to have characters in the sport. I don't necessarily know if it need to be coaches that are the characters. I rather see the athletes be the characters. But as a coach, you try to give your athlete the edge that he needs to, or he or she needs to clinch a match and to win a match. And as long as it's in the rules that the judges allow you, as long as they not tell you to calm down or to change your behavior, yeah, it's all good, and there's no reason to not do it.
Well, it didn't quite pay off this time, but one athlete who will be going to the Olympics next year is Casey Kaufhold. She didn't quite make it onto the podium this time. She wasn't able to get a medal at these World Championships like she did at the last ones, but she did keep her cool when facing the Olympic champion Anne San in the quarterfinals to book that spot in Paris 2024. Japan's Satsuki Noda picked up the other Olympic ticket after a tense finish and shoot-off against Chaeyoung Kang from Korea. Emil, let's talk about Casey Kaufhold and Anne San. We talked about that pair yesterday, of course. You thought that Anne San would edge that match, but again, it's a repeat of the time the two met in Yankton 2 years ago. Yeah,
like I said in the start of the show, I really liked the groups Anne San was shooting. She was just not able to get them outside of the left of the left nine. She shot amazing groups, but eventually, it's all about hitting the 10. And if you look at the match, how it unfolded, Casey Kaufhold had really a couple of very important errors. And every time that third error, when she needed a 10 to clinch the set or to clinch that 1 point for a tie, she did it, and that really shows the fighting spirit that Korfeld has, and that she showed numerous times already on the big stage. Yeah.
You and Chef talked a couple of days about certain archers being your white whale, certain archers that you come up against and maybe on paper you should beat, but you just can't. Is this maybe the situation here with Ansan and Casey Keffeldt?
I don't know. They met twice now at the World Championships, and Ansan lost both of them. So I don't know if it's going to turn out to be a problem for her. So let's see how the future pans out for her.
Yeah, certainly an interesting pairing to keep an eye on in the future. Just going back to Casey Keffeldt's performance, she's obviously got her Olympic ticket, but she got a silver medal 2 years ago. Do you think she'll be disappointed with fourth?
Yeah, we read a story about her. She definitely is disappointed that she doesn't win a medal, but she still has that. Yeah, she has that quota place to. Well, she's not going home empty-handed. But if you are in the final 8 and if you are in the final 4, you are disappointed if you don't win a medal. Eventually, you are to World Championships to first become world champion, and if that's not working out, at least to win a medal. So she was definitely, she will be disappointed about fourth, but she has that quota place to at least bring home something for the USA and for herself.
Satsuki Noda, of course, she also has a quota place. She's ranked 73 in the world, but she said after that performance today she thinks she can get a medal in Paris. What do you make of that ambition?
Well, I think if you can medal at the Olympic at the World Championships, you can medal in Paris. The field it's the same. You have the top archers in Paris, and actually the Olympic Games only have 64 athletes, so there will be great athletes that are not at the Olympic Games. So yeah, definitely, if you can win at the World Championships, then you can win at the Paris Olympics, definitely.
And of course, these athletes must have taken great confidence from not seeing any Korean names in that.
Yeah, well, and it's not that they were all out. Noda had to beat Kang, that we know as Kang the Destroyer, when I think it was 2017 when she won everything that she could win. So it's not that it was given to her. She actually had to beat the Korean archer to get in the final 4. So she really deserved this medal. Oh, yeah. And
we can see now this is the match against Kang. You were watching this, of course, Emil. What were you thinking as this match progressed?
I think Kang, like I said, she was a little bit at the beginning. She was a little bit all over the place. She found her rhythm, came back and made it a shoot off. Shot a decent shoot off. All you can ask for is to shoot a 10, but Noda edged her out with a better 10, and yeah, that's all she wrote.
And you'd have expected perhaps Noda, under the pressure of a shootout, to crumble in that moment.
Clearly not, and that shows again that she can do it at the highest stage, and why not at the Olympics?
Yeah, absolutely. She thoroughly deserves her spot in Paris 2024. And of course, there were plenty more spots decided throughout the day today, with all those two finals taking place rather, and the men's Olympic places were also decided in the quarter-finals, with Brazil, Indonesia and Canada all securing their tickets for Paris 2024. Were those the names you expected, Emil, to see on the plane to Paris?
Two of them are. I didn't expect Peters to be there, but we saw the match against Steve Weiler, heavily influenced by the weather, I might say, especially in the beginning. Well, if you were looking at Steve in the first set, I think he had some problems with hearing or feeling his clicker, especially that third arrow. I think the clicker on his bow already went for like 3 seconds, and he just kept pulling it because he didn't feel, hear or see it, and then he shot a very bad end of 17 points. Came back in the match, was leading 4-2, and at that point, I think we were all thinking, okay, he's going to walk away with this. He just had to settle for one end. But then Eric Peters came back in the match and shot a couple of 28s and beat Steve with that, who never really got up to his usual level in that match. Yeah.
And Steve, of course, he's an archer you know very well through the Dutch national team. What do you think he must have been thinking when he wasn't, performing as he expected?
It's hard to say what he was thinking. I think he was rather disappointed, but he just kept having problems with the weather. I think at the beginning it was rainy, it was low, it got dry, and his arrows moved up, and he missed at the high side. So I think he never really settled in that match. And then you see that a recurve match of only five sets, it's over before you know it. So he'll be very disappointed. Now he came sixth. I think he's the first one on the top 8 not to get an Olympic quota. He came fifth with the team, so he came very close with the team. So he missed out twice now. He just missed out at the European Games as well for the individual ticket. So now he already has 3 near misses, and he must be dying for at least a quota place for Paris.
It must be agonising to just fall short like that. But let's talk about the other medalists in the men's individual recurve. Marcus D'Almeida, the world #1, he took bronze. Do you think he would have expected to have been on the top of the podium?
Yeah, he shot a blistering quarter-final match. He only missed a couple points. I think he shot an 87 points out of 90, a 6-0 win. Then he must have seen the match that Gazos shot, which was not of that high level. So he must have felt that this was his time to reach the final again, and maybe with the highest ranked archer Steve at the other side already being eliminated, felt that this was his chance to become world champion. But then he just couldn't find a 10 that easily in the semis, and Gazos did at the correct moments, and he was edged out again. Yeah.
And just looking at those pictures there, the weather absolutely atrocious. Do you think that played a part?
The weather for recurve archers, for all archers, it definitely plays a part, because your equipment gets wet, and because it gets wet, it gets slower. Your string is soaking up water, it gets slow. Your limbs are heavier, so it gets slow. So you really have to compensate for that in height, and it's not only the rain that is affecting it. If it's starting to dry up again, it's also affected because your arrows move up again. So that's really something they have to keep in mind, and not to they don't have to deviate too much high and low. In those conditions. Yeah.
It certainly makes things difficult, doesn't it? Well, we have to mention, of course, the silver medalist, Arif Pangestu from Indonesia. He was an unexpected name, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came out fourth eventually, because he lost to Peters in the semi-finals. Very unexpected expected name, but he was the one that eliminated Kim Woo-jin. So definitely in the top eight on merit. He shot a nice match against Saito from Japan in the quarters, but then just fell short. I think mostly on experience. He's a very young guy, never been there. Maybe also a little bit fatigue at the end of the week. The weather that's been hard on them, and he's just of all those 4, I think he had the least left in the tank, and had to settle for 4th. But still, because Meta was there as well, an Olympic quota. So same goes for him as that goes for Korfeld. He's going home to Indonesia with a 4th place, but also with an Olympic quota for his country.
And how much confidence does that give a young archer to know he's got that place?
Well, he does it. I think for him it's a little bit different than from Korfeld. Korfeld she is the best American archer, so I think she's on the top spot in the trials to make it to the Olympics. He's in Indonesia. He's not the lead athlete. So they have Rio Egata, who is their top athlete, who shot at the Olympics before. So if they're doing open trials, because the tickets are not on name but for country, he really has a tough road ahead to actually clinch that one place. So I think he's excited to help his country to a team spot as well, so that at least they have more spots and his chances increase. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, with so many impressive performances throughout the week, the pressure was on our commentators Karim Bashir and Chef Vandenberg to pick just one archer of the day. So let's get their thoughts.
So the last day of the Hyundai World Archery Championships has come to a close, but there's still time to find out who Chef Vandenberg's Archer of the Day is. Not the easiest of choices yet again.
Yet again, there were many good archers to choose from, and that did make it a bit difficult. But in the end, I think the real standout here is Marie Horachkova. She shot a 29 average to just shoot her way to gold, 6-0, even though she's never really appeared on the world stage before.
Yeah, and a few things to know apart from that amazing average and the fact that, well, I certainly wasn't familiar with her shooting and she looked very comfortable, was that the first quarter-final, or her quarter-final was against Lim Seon of Korea, who was probably the fancied athlete to win the whole darn thing and has never lost individually as a senior.
Yeah, so what that means is that Marie can pretty much just boast about the fact that she is the first person to ever win over Lim Se-yeon in international competition.
Went on to win against the Japanese athlete in the semi-finals and then faced Alejandra Valencia, searching for her first world medal. She had to settle for silver in the end because Horechkova was superb in that final.
Yeah, like I said before, 29 average, that's, well, it's insane on all accounts, but it's especially insane for somebody who isn't so experienced on the finals venue and who we didn't maybe pick beforehand.
So there you have it, Marie Horechkova from the Czech Republic becoming the new world champion, and more importantly, Chef van den Berg's Archer of the Day.
Well, let's remind ourselves of some of the highlights of this competition then, and what better place to start than with India's compound women who took gold in the team event. They were incredible, weren't they, Emil?
Yeah, I think if we talk about compound for this tournament and we're talking about compound women, it's all about the Indian women that outscored everybody. So yeah, definitely a huge surprise.
And they certainly defied their age and experience, didn't they? It's such a young team, and they're working with a new coach in Sergio Pani, of course, and they look, their attitude is different. They're very mature, they're enjoying their archery.
Yeah, they look like they've been doing this for ages already, but they're only like 17, 18 and mid-20s, I think, for Venom. So it's really incredible what they've learned in a couple of years under Sergio Pani's reign. Yeah, where we maybe would have thought that the Koreans would take over compound as well when they turned up on the scene a couple of years ago. It's actually India that's especially with the women is dominating.
Yeah, they were really impressive on Friday in that team event. And then, of course, in the individual, where they took bronze and gold in the women's individual, which was just fantastic to see. Poland's men, of course, very impressive. They stunned Denmark, didn't they, in a dramatic shootout to take gold. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think that was maybe one of the most exciting and most nerve-wracking matches to see. They were so close all through the match. Poland leading by one halfway, Denmark coming back to it. A shoot-off, a perfect 30 shoot-off. All the pressure on Zibilski at the end to shoot at 10 because they knew they had the best dig. So the only thing he had to do was shoot at 10. But I personally know how hard it is in the situation like that to do it, and for him to do it, it was incredible scenes. Yeah.
Incredible scenes as well for the USA, their mixed team. They beat Colombia, the defending champions. Yeah. Was that a result you expected?
Yeah, I think the Americans might have had a little bit of a disappointing compound tournament. We used to see a lot of USA contenders in the top 8 for individuals, and all the teams they medaled a lot of times at the World Championships. This time, I think none of the Americans ended up in the final 8 individually, and we didn't see any of the men or women teams on the podium. They took the mixed team gold, which that's what they need to settle for. But I don't think they will go home very satisfied about that result. But still, it's a World Championship title, and there are a lot of countries that didn't win a World Championship title this tournament.
Well, India's archers, who you just saw there, they will be satisfied because their men and women took both medals in the individual events. Swami, she became the youngest ever world champion, Aditi Swami. How impressed were you with her?
Yeah, very impressed. We talked about Gazos having the World Championship and the Olympic title. Well, for her, she has now as the team gold medal, she has the individual gold medal, and she still has the under-18 gold medal that she won in Liberec a couple of months ago. So she has 3 world titles within the span of 1.5 to 2 months. She'll be on top of the world, yeah. And with those wins from Diotala and Swami and the team win, they ended up on top of the charts in the medal table overall. So, yeah, India is on top of the world at the moment.
Absolutely, and Diotala, he shot a perfect 150 in the final. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, to do that, we saw that before from Rio Wild. I think to do it once in a final. I don't know if it's a World Cup final or World Cup or the World Championships, but to shoot a World 150 in a World Cup final, in a World Championship final, yeah, it's all you can ask for. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the recurve archers booked their places in the team event in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Germany's women were so impressive, weren't they, Emil, when they took gold? Of course, they backed up their European Championship win with the World Championship win, and can they win the Olympic title too?
Let's hope so. They won both the titles they won on home soil. Obviously, Paris is not that far. But what I learned is that they're going to lose their coach. The French coach Marc Dellenbach, who was behind them, is going to position to another job at the World Archery Excellence Center. So I actually spoke to one of the girls from the German team, and they're kind of sad that he left because he really looked like a great fit for them. He really gave them confidence. He really had a good connection with them. And now, a year before the Olympics, they lose him as a coach. So I'm very curious how that's going to pan out in the rest of the season and up to the Olympics, because as a group of archers, they certainly have what it takes to win a medal and maybe even gold in Paris. Yeah.
Well, he's certainly bowing out on a high anyway, isn't he? But how disruptive do you think that might be in an Olympic year?
Yeah, I don't know how what his daily working was with the girls. If he saw them a lot, if he trained some of them personally, because I know that they have a lot of contact with the head coach as well. But you never want to see a coach that you have a good connection with and that helps you win medals. You never want to see him leave. Obviously, they probably are happy for him that he found a different position that he wanted, but. Yeah, will definitely disrupt everything a little bit for them. So let's hope they find maybe a similar coach like that in the near future. Yeah.
Let's hope so. Important to keep that momentum going. And France and Mexico also booking their tickets to Paris and making up the podium in the recurve team. France are supposedly a team in transition, Emil.
Yeah, the French, obviously they have more time to prepare for the Olympics, so they don't have that pressure to qualify. They hired a Korean coach last year to help them transition to a medal-winning team, but somehow they already were able to medal these championships, and they did great. Like we said a couple of days ago, they just did what was asked of them, and that's just at least beat every team that's coming in with a lower ranking than you. That's what they did, and they ended up against Germany. Shot a nice match, but fell a little bit short, but still go home to Paris with that silver medal.
Yeah, and full of confidence ahead of a home Olympics,
definitely,
of course.
Yeah.
So what is the importance of each of those teams winning? So Germany, how important, each team winning 3 places, how important is that?
You know that you have a couple more chances to win 3 spots. You can win it at the European Championships. You can win it at the final quota tournament. If you're high on the world ranking list, you will get your spots. But nothing beats winning your spots at the first opportunity. It will give so much peace in your team that you know that you can do everything. You can make your full schedule, you can make your full periodization up towards being at your best at the Olympics. You don't need to worry about being in great form at the Europeans. You don't need to medal at World Cups anymore. You want to medal, of course, because you want to win. Winning makes you better, but you don't have that pressure that you must win because you need those world ranking points. You need that European Championship for placing. There's nothing better than having those spots as early as possible.
Good position to be in. And in terms of the men's teams, we've got Korea, Turkey and Japan. Those are the 3 who booked their tickets and got the medals in the team event. Korea, thank goodness for their recurve men, I guess.
Yeah, I think the recurve men kind of bailed out the whole Korean team. Obviously they won the gold, and they at least helped one of the girls to win the gold in the mixed team. So they're still going home with 2 gold medals, but 2 out of 5 is below average score for Korea, to be honest. So, but yeah, the men did what was asked of them. They won the World Championships again, and they have their tickets. So for them, it's a little bit less of a grueling schedule and all the pressure up towards all the big competitions that are coming up these months.
Absolutely, and Japan and Turkey. That 2 interesting names there. Japan, actually, they had match points, didn't they, against the Turkish team who came from behind to take the silver, but nevertheless Japan still have their ticket to Paris.
Yeah, Japan, they almost like gave it away against. They gave it away against Turkey. They could have won it in the semi-finals already by shooting. I think in the third set they needed a 9 to close out the match, but they shot an 8. But they recovered against a not so strong Italy for the bronze medal match. So yeah, Japan, after obviously being the host nation in Tokyo, they're again going to the Olympics. Yeah.
And Japan, they seem to do well, don't they, in Olympic-related competition?
Yeah, if it has anything to do with the Olympics, Japan knows how to perform. They already have several Olympic medalists in their team. They won a team medal in Tokyo. So yeah, if it's Olympic-related, then Japan knows how to do that little bit extra.
Let's keep an eye on them next summer then, see how they do. Well, we've had a fantastic few days of competition at the Hyundai World Championships in Berlin, but the action doesn't end there, because next stop is Paris in a couple of weeks' time for the 4th stage of the Archery World Cup. Emil, it will be held at the same place as the Olympics. It's a good practice ground. It's
a good practice ground. You want to see how it is. Most archers are not that unfazed by the scenery. Usually qualification, it's just a big open field with some buildings around it usually, or some trees, so they won't be too unfazed by that. But you want to see that finals field, because at the Olympics every match will be shot at the same finals venue with all the stands around you. I don't know if they already have that set up for the World Cup, so it might only be for the individual athletes or the team athletes that reach the finals. So if you want to pick up that experience in Paris, you probably need to be in the top 4, either with team, mixed team, or individually. So there is some pressure definitely on the recurve teams to do well in Paris.
Who do you see doing well in Paris then?
It's very hard to tell. They only have 10 days to recover from this championship, and for a lot of teams that are like around places 3 to 8 or 3 to 10 on the world ranking list, there are a lot of ranking points at stake. So the pressure will be high, because if you don't win those points, if you don't win the tournament, probably one of your competitors will, and a lot of teams will be a little bit focused on that world ranking list. So there will be pressure. I think for the women, I think Korea will bounce back with the team. So I'll see them at least medal. I'm not going to say yet that they will win gold again, because I already
your predictions have been awful. They've been all over the place.
Have been a bit off, but I expect for the men, nations like Korea, maybe the USA, maybe the Netherlands, maybe Germany. They have good teams, and I think they really, especially USA, Germany, and Netherlands, really need those points. And I'm very curious what we can see about countries like China and Chinese Taipei, because they were a little bit like, we didn't really see them at these Olympics. We didn't really at these championships. We didn't really talk about them, especially in recurve. No top 8 spots, no quota places. So I'm really curious what settled recurve teams like India, China, Chinese Taipei, how they will do in Paris after these championships. Yeah.
And you, as a former coach, Emil, how important is it to take your archers to the venue to get used to it? It's a year away still, but how important is that reconnaissance mission?
Yeah, well, I went to the test event in Rio de Janeiro. There they already had the full setup. That was a real test event with everything, all the matches being on the finals venue, in the same venue that the Olympics were. And I think it's good to see and to know how the routes are, how the venue looks, how far it is from the Olympic Village. And I don't know if the athletes that are going to Paris will have that same experience, because many of the stadiums, they are not built yet, because these Olympics, they will make use of stadiums that they can take apart again. So they probably only will be built like in the months leading up to the Olympics. So I don't know how much this of a test event it really will be. So I'm kind of curious how it will pan out. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Absolutely. And you can catch all that action on World Archery's YouTube channel. And many thanks for joining us throughout the week from the Hyundai World Archery Championships in Berlin. I hope you've enjoyed all the action as much as we have. Many thanks to Emil Custers as well, former Dutch national team coach who's joined us throughout the week to provide fascinating insight and analysis and some dodgy predictions. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.